Oh my gosh, we did it. I think we're on. I think we're live. And I think who was first in the house, honey?
I think it was Robbie.
It was Robbie again, 2 days in a row. Oh my gosh.
Quick draw.
And then DJ and Robbie and DJ and Robbie and DJ and Robbie.
JCR.
JCR, catch many,
He goes
95. Good. He says, I have a tan. So it says, I got a tan. That's great. That's great. Christine Love, isn't that cute? Thanks for spelling that out for me. You're learning. You're learning about me. Thank you.
I just thought it was a cool name. Iko Atani.
Mike always makes everything sound cool. Thank God. Oh boy.
There we go. Wow, everybody. Okay, great to see you guys. Paolo, Ray, Dana Green, and we have Jerry Hayes in the house. Good to see you. And Bear Brain Adventures, Pete, K-Heads 2. Salutations, everybody. Really, really wild times. You guys, anybody out there a Three Doors Down fan? Yeah, really sad. Yeah, I knew that the lead singer, Brad Arnold, was sick, but he has passed on. He was only 47. And if you're wondering if he did something, yeah, he had. That was something that was mentioned in posts years back, about 5 years back, to be exact. So, yeah, it's just really, really sad to see this cancer. 47, another one. We send out prayers and, best intent towards the family and him. I'm not sure if you could sense anything with him, sweetie.
He's not putting out any information right now. I think he's just not in a good state. So I can't read him right now. He almost feels angry, I want to say.
Yeah, well, you probably realize exactly what has happened. In some cases, when you unfortunately pass on suddenly in an accident per se, sometimes it could be traumatizing. And we were talking to one of our regulars that's been with us for years, who's a teacher. It's one of the things that he does. He's also been a policeman too. But he's a big avid historian and was talking about Civil War battles pretty close to where we are and he is. And, he went to a Civil War site and he could sense the ghosts that are still there on the battlefield back, again, Civil War. We're talking, 160 years ago. And still you have ghosts on the battlefield. It's really tragic. Again, we've been living in a dark age, a Kali Yuga, where up is down and inside is out.
Yes, and where they say there is justice, there is not. And when they say there are schools for education, it's dumbing down.
Yeah, programming centers. It really makes me sad. I saw these guys live in 2018. And, they were great and gave off a great energy. Again, we lost another one there. So there is a horrific chemical smell going on. Nobody knows what it is. This is in Chicago, but not just in Chicago, because we have a family member that's up in Milwaukee area that's smelling chemical in the air.
Yeah, she's smelling it. Several other people are smelling it. She sent me there's emergency alerts going out. So that's very, very, very concerning. It's they're advising people if you have anything wrong, burning in the lungs, dizziness, shortness of breath, go to the ER right away. I mean, it's been out for hours and hours, I think around a day, and they haven't been able to find anything. That to me is just so not okay, and they're, I was thinking, well, maybe it's a data center in the area. Well, there's none in that area, but there are some, in the surrounding areas, and we just don't know what kind of pollutants those are putting off. And I think they're all really bad news. I mean, to me, those data centers are the noose. It's around our necks right now, and it's just slowly going to get pulled with a technocracy. It does not feel good.
No. So, again, let's just take a quick look. So you see Milwaukee's here, Chicago's here. That's a good area. to be having the same type of chemical being smelled between people in the greater Milwaukee area and the greater Chicago area, that's a long distance. I reckon it is probably about the same as Hartford to New York, or maybe New York to Philadelphia. Yeah, that's kind of odd, to say the least. Well, while we have this out, no major quakes, so to speak. There's been a few in South Carolina along the coast recently, and again, this is a fault line that could become active. But otherwise, what we're looking at is still yet another day with the highest being a 5 point something, so 5.3 in Russia, Kamchatka area is the biggest one. And, again, you might think it's great, but not necessarily, because it could indicate that there's pressure building and it hasn't been released. And when we get those 6s and every now and then a 7 in a location that doesn't do damage, it's kind of good because it lets off steam. But we haven't had many of those, and so very unusual stretch. But going back to this, Chicago area residents been calling 911 to report a chemical smell on Sunday. Officials say, but the source is not yet known. Algonquin Lake and the Hills Fire Protection District said it received multiple 911 calls about an unknown odor described as chemical or burning electric. I've smelled that a couple of times. We smelled something that seems like burning electric. We actually had an electrician come out, and we had some new outlets put in. But, I had to wonder if it was something that was in the air.
You do have to wonder, everything that's going up and the way things are rolling out. And Robbie says, the Super Bowl logo was the emergency broadcast logo too. The colors were of the emergency broadcast logo. That's hilarious. But it's most appropriate for them. And Pete says Cuba had a quake. Oh my.
Yeah, that was yesterday, that Cuba quake. Not too far again from Guantanamo Bay. But, these reports, they actually go all the way through central Illinois, through Indiana, and, again, up into Wisconsin. So that is really weird. Now, it's interesting. Some people are putting things together. The president withdrew from the WHO on January 22nd, and California, Illinois, New York City have joined GOARN, which is Global Outbreak Alert and Response Network. Since Illinois has joined, a reported chemical smell spread from Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana in the news. Could there be a coincidence, as you see here? This is from J.B. Pritzker, Illinois, is joining the World Health Organization's coordinated network on their own. Curious. How about this? Republican Thomas Massey and Democrat Ro Kahana have been reviewing the unredacted e-files. Massey said, that was an interesting experience. What I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion into the files. It took some digging to find them. Kana said, we discussed that. There are 6 men, some of them with their photographs, that have been redacted, and there's no explanation why these people were redacted. I don't know. Will their names and photos be given to the rest of us? It's interesting times. Here you go. This is Representative Stansbury. The United States government's engaged in an active cover-up of the largest, SEX trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the U.S., and they're putting 47 right at the center of it. Well, again, if you're trying to say, can we just move on? What? Can we just move on from paying our taxes because we know it was illegal in the first place, the way it happened? How about that? Does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's there. This is such a mess out there, and it's really, really getting to people. And I want to say we have to keep reeling ourselves back in. Do not let yourself get pulled down over this, because for one, that's that's making food for other entities, and two, we really have to focus on the things that we can control in our own lives to, to better yourself so that you're not having to go outside of yourself to external circumstances to get help. I mean, we need to take care of ourselves and withdraw as much as we can from, giving our money to these upper people, and basically make it so they just snuff them out so they can't breathe. They breathe with our money, blood, sweat, and tears. That's what keeps them alive.
Meanwhile, you have President Putin's special envoy Kirill Dmitriev calls for UK Prime Minister Starmer to resign because of that file scandal. Yeah, there's a lot of people calling on him to resign. We're getting to that. Like it's like the showdown. It's like the gunfight at the OK Corral. I mean, it's just like the tension, and you're waiting to see, who's going to fire the first real shot here. And, I was on a post from Jim Ferguson. I'll see if I could find it. Thank you, KK.
Thank you, our dearest KK. We appreciate that so much.
Yeah, it hasn't been an easy go of it. And, shoot, if things didn't happen the way they did, we might be in a different position. Like, there's actually a property nearby that we're thinking, gosh, it'd be perfect to develop a place where people could come and actually have energy work done. We could even teach and guide. And if things work different and YouTube didn't demonetize us, maybe we could have done something like that. That was, again, the past. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. All we can do is move forward. And humanity has to move forward. But again, you can't just, can we just forget it? Hell no, we can't forget it. You're talking about the worst things, really, just about the worst things you could possibly imagine involving the leadership of the planet, and on many different levels.
It's traumatizing. It's really, really traumatizing. And the thing is trauma, it might happen now, but this is going to unravel over generations, and it's going to affect us, and our reactions. What we do are going to affect our children, our grandchildren. So this is a generational trauma. It really, really is. And unless we sit and we kind of try to deal with this trauma right now, that trauma can sit there and build and over time cause dis-ease. So this is really a huge, huge mess we have going on that we need to get a handle on.
AI could be fun, though. You got to admit, AI can be fun at times. Is Kier going to go, right? Starmer digs in. Cabinet closes ranks. Pressure is mounting. I mean, does it really matter? I mean, there's just one after another after another. And they're all doing the same thing. All they're doing is playing a role, and they're just basically being told what to say, and then they tell us. That's pretty much it, And how about Prince Charles? Oh, I mean, Prince Charles. I'm just used to calling him Prince Charles instead of King Charles because he was Prince most of the time. And, he was heckled here, as you can see, openly heckled during a visit. And people were asking him things, and of course he wasn't going to answer.
No, he's not going to answer. He's not going to answer. He's never going to answer. And this is kind of frustrating for me, is to see people who are not being nice to other people. They just continually get away with it, and they walk, and they're allowed to be mean to other people, and they can say nasty things and do nasty things, and they continue to walk. And it just seems like in this 3D realm, there's no consequence, but I know better than that. Like in other realms, there is karma will happen. I guess in this case, it's so devastating. I'm feeling impatient.
As KK says, it's important to remember that so many of us have known what's happening for a long time, but other people, it's just shocked. They're just in shock, and they have to process, and some of them just can't believe what they're hearing. They probably have in the back of their mind, nah, this can't be true. This can't be right. sometimes it's just, you can't face certain things. So, here's a person saying, how long did you know about Andrew and, the E Island guy? Yeah, it's perhaps the end of the monarchy, which is long overdue. There shouldn't be any monarchies. I mean, oh my God, that's such a relic. Throw it away. Flush it down the toilet bowl.
Yeah,
The royal toilet bowl.
they're just not going to, though. Frustrating.
Well, I don't know. I think that this is like an avalanche waiting to happen. It really is. And, I think that the people all around the world, they're all pretty much fed up. I mean, there are a group of people that are oblivious to everything. And, we might refer to them as either zombies, or non-playing characters. Again, there's some that just, unfortunately, they can't grab onto much. But yet what we have is just the unraveling of too much. Too much for most people to handle, and way too much for society to just simply ignore, or to say, okay, it's time to move on. Again, why don't you just move on from the whole concept of, again, the IRS and income taxes? You should certainly move on from the whole concept, again, of forcing people to do anything that they didn't want to do, which, again, in retrospect, so many people, they feel that they made the wrong choice. And, we're going back again about 4 or 5 year period ago. And thankfully, not all of those things were created the same. Otherwise, we'd be talking to a lot of crickets, in addition to those that have withstood pressure and have not given in to anything. That's great. Stand your ground. This is what humanity needs to do, is stand its ground. And pick each other up, because we have to support each other. It's really just a small minority that are, pulling the strings in the darkness.
It is, and Amanda made a good point about if Y2K had, if things would have fallen apart, how much better off would we be, right? That's a really good point, and she also says the internet could be such a powerful tool of good for the benefit of the people. It really can, and that's what we're celebrating right now by coming together in this room, coming together for the good of the people, because our energy matters. When we get together, it makes a difference, and everyone watching and everyone commenting and the thumbs up and all your good positive intent is getting out there. It is absolutely getting out there. And just don't forget to stick around for after the live. We always do a little bit of energy work and prayers if anyone needs them. So we do dings, and it's a lot of fun.
The Cuban people have suffered quite a bit due to sanctions. So did the Venezuelan people. Again, it's the system in general that, it's this. We could go all the way back to the dividing of nations, which is in, again, the Bible. It's also in Plato's Critias, which is, again, going back to 800 BC time frame, when they talked about these beings, again, whether you call them Anunnaki, Elohim, or whatever, they divided the world up, and each took different tribes to run and to play with, so to speak, it seems, and to claim as an asset. And, it's like we're playing a risk game, stratego, chess. This is what these beings do with our lives. And Air Canada suspends Cuban flights because the island's running out of jet fuel. There's going to be no more jet fuel in Cuba. Cuba is a mess. And again, so much of it is just simply caused by the sanctions and everything that's been going on. The average people all around the world, doesn't matter if you're in a communist or a capitalist country, we've all suffered because of the division, which again is artificial in nature. But it's done to keep us at odds with each other instead of, looking at what's really going on. This is a top-down, corrupt cancer upon the whole planet.
Mm-hmm. And we are the antidote. Just keep that in mind. Know that you are such a bright, shining light. You are the antidote. You are here to make a difference. Here we are. It's time to finally shine our light. And, realize that so many others are going to be waking up, because you cannot ignore this one. Because you know how many people are affected by this kind of abuse. And when they start hearing this, it could start triggers, and it is not going to be okay. And they're going to want life to be, rectified. And that's, I think, what we are looking at. But we never, ever, ever advocate for any kind of violence of any kind, any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you guys were mentioning something in April in planes. I wasn't aware of something in April with planes. So, share what you guys know, and we'll look into this too and share with the others. Our Florida Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, just announced Florida is going to research ivermectin for cancer. He says, as did Aaron Elizabeth, Dr. Mackus just got his Florida license approved, and Canada had banned his work. Yeah, so this is where the lines are being drawn, and the big separation is really starting to happen.
Yeah, so this is, really good news. And yes, and Ray was saying, yeah, all will be known in the final days, and all is definitely coming out. But I think we're just really kind of cracking the egg right now. There's still a lot to see and a lot to uncover, and it's probably going to be overwhelming. That's why we're practicing things like Buddhist detachment, because you don't want to get attached to all the criminal stuff out there and let that pull you down. There is a way to look and know what's going on and not attach to it.
Okay, so Susan Donahue says the third Purim blood moon, 3 of 3, is on March 3rd, which is again a 3-3, 99 weeks after the eclipse on April 8th, 2024. So that's 99 weeks after we actually step foot into the Bronze Age. 3 weeks and 3 days after the Super Bowl ritual. So, okay. Yeah, interesting. This is going to be a really interesting period. Again, we can definitely change their plans. I think we have, honestly. Even though we're going to have some bumps in the road, I really do think we've gotten ourselves away from the worst of the timelines. By the way, flesh-eating parasite, we had mentioned briefly on different live, sparks disaster declaration in Texas. It's the screwworms, right? Texas will not get screwed by the flesh-eating parasite known as the screwworm, with Governor Abbott declaring a preemptive disaster declaration before the devastating organism even gets to the Lone Star State. State law authorizes me to act to prevent the threat of infestation that could cause a severe damage to Texas property. So, what does that involve exactly? Let's see. Abbott is ordering state agencies to gear up before the parasite arrives. And you have a $750 million facility that's already in the works to breed hundreds of millions of sterile screwworm flies. I hope they haven't had any other form of manipulation done.
Hi, Paul. Says I've been MIA lately, but getting back to my better self. Well, we missed you too, and thank you so much for your support that way. It really, really helps us. It helps us tremendously. Thank you so much. And, I'm glad to see that they're being proactive about this worm. It's very yucky, and we have some really wonderful people that we know in Texas, and they are in this industry, and I would just hate to see them lose anything, because they are very good people, and they help keep us going with what they do. So I'm glad to see finally somebody is being proactive. I like that.
Yeah, I always still get concerned, just wondering, is there anything that these genetically altered, if that's the case, and how they do it? I would guess so. There must be altering the genes to make them sterile, because we know it's like the Daughters of Men scenario that we're in. We have a fertility crisis. We have, again, sperm count is like just a tiny fraction of what it was a couple generations ago. And infertility is growing. And, we have bees are like 80% wiped out. And if that happens, then we're in big, big trouble with the food chain. So, it's like you hope that they're being upfront with us. But, there's this thing where I don't trust anything they ever do. Meanwhile, we were talking about that chemical smell, right? In not just Wisconsin and not just Illinois, but Indiana too. Something strange happened in California. Ridiculous amounts of documented geoengineering and fog for a week and floods. The air quality in California is officially unhealthy. Yeah, and it's not just there. People are being told in many locations to don't go out, stay in the house.
Quality in California is officially unhealthy after its parts per million of particulate matter reached a certain threshold that now they're suggesting you stay indoors and close your windows. And if you're elderly or young or have any lung thing going on, you should not be outside. Now, the strange thing about this, and someone correct me in the comments, but they're saying it's a totally natural fog because of winter and the temperature change in the ground versus the air and all that. But then why would it be like toxic? I guess that's because the particulates that are coming off the cities anyway and all the pollution in general, but is staying in place as opposed to, dissipating. But this is a big deal, man. They're warning people. And apparently, according to this guy, it says, Gerald DePalta told Daily Mail that he and his family have been coughing and experiencing congestion for a week. Like, people aren't feeling well. This reminds me of when it was smoky as hell when I was in Edmonton and there was a crazy wildfire. But this isn't wildfire smoke. Yeah, okay. During these fog events, temperature inversions can trap car exhaust and industrial pollutants near the ground, potentially worsening air quality and causing respiratory irritation. Now, I do wonder if any of this foggy stuff is coming from other places, but I cannot confirm. Now, this guy wiped his car with his finger and it had a white dust. And what they say is natural radiation fog, which is not nuclear radiation, it's the radiation they're saying with the temperature change between the ground and the air during winter, is not known to leave a white residue, as it simply is a cloud at ground level consisting of millions of tiny pure water droplets. I'm not so sure it's too pure. That evaporate as the sun warms the air, but it hasn't evaporated. This is the weird thing. The residue could be due to dust, pollution, smoke, or chemical particles suspended in the air, which could be called...
It'd be interesting to get it analyzed. It's not just there, too. There's been this reported in at least 4 other states that I saw recently.
Yeah, I mean, this is just really, really creepy and uncalled for, and it just keeps going on. So my question is, like, who do we tell? I mean, sure, I'm glad we have each other. I'm glad we can put the intention out there and we can have, these talks and we can come together and, we can uplift each other. But really, who do we talk to? I would like to know, because sometimes I get kind of feisty and I wouldn't mind making phone calls, but I tend to get in trouble when I start doing that.
Yeah, meanwhile, you have thousands flooding into the streets in Bucharest and Romania. Again, they had, all sorts of craziness with the election. And this is what we have now. I mean, it's the same sort of situation in France a little bit, where somebody that would really have a chance to win legally, is thrown behind bars by the, incumbents, or blocked from participating. This is just it's like the fall of the Roman Empire all over, but this is bigger than the U.S. and it's bigger than just the U.K. and it's a global thing that's going on, especially centered in the Western Hemisphere, if you know what I mean.
Oh, wow. Six String says the guy they busted for the Vegas biolab was released by a judge today. Yeah, we haven't seen that, but
yeah, that's right.
yeah. So that's pretty not good. There's just so much going on right now. I mean, the toxicity in our world. I mean, what does this feel like to you guys? I know for me, it's making me quite anxious on many different levels, and it's just irritated, and I think this is a good time to talk about detoxing. Detoxing is so very important, because if you're not deliberately detoxing, then you're just kind of piling it in, and we can't do that. I mean, you have to at least make the effort to drink a little bit of lemon water every day? Just something, anything.
Yeah. So yeah, this I did see something where the guy was released, and um, interesting. The connections to a Middle Eastern country where there was the same connections in Argentina with those fires to the same country. Um, you get different reports coming out at different times, and it's just the cover-ups. It's just massive. This was really curious because what the woman does. Let's see if we play it a little bit faster. So you wonder how toxic is your water with the chlorine.
Drops. It's a clear liquid with a yellow cap, and this is chlorine. And we're going to see how much chlorine is in our tap water. Now, in this demonstration, we're going to show you how fast chlorine absorbs into your skin. They say that chlorine is proven to cause cancer. It also affects the endocrine system, and also bleeding causes asthma, eczema, psoriasis. So we want to eliminate chlorine. Now, we're mimicking what happens in a shower or bath. Take out our hands, do the same exact test. And we're going to stir that up. Where's the chlorine?
It's in her. That's what she says. So it's like the body just absorbs the chlorine right away. Yeah, it's very disconcerting to see. We do have a water filter we use for the tub too, so that we're filtering the water. Hope that you guys do the same.
Yeah, compared to the health benefits, they're not that much, just to get a water filter for your tub that filter out what you can. I know there's not going to be a catch-all for everything, but just doing what we can within our budget is important. You invest in yourself.
Oh, so Vil Down says he's in Lafayette, Indiana, and it does smell like burning tires. And something else that's unrecognizable, but definitely chemical, gasoline type of smell. Wow. Yeah, it's. I'm sure it's not healthy. Yeah, we are on attack. They've declared war against us, and we didn't know. Even some, that had ideas of what was going on, but just not to the level, because it's like all-out warfare, and one side doesn't have a clue.
I know it, and there's that. There's a lot that don't have a clue, but they are catching on. I am happy to say the more we run into more and more people that are in the know, and I am just kind of surprised at how many people are in the know, but still, I don't know. Maybe I'm impatient.
Yeah. So this is Gubba Homestead. She's always drinking milk. This reminds me of, like, whenever I see her, I think 1950s commercials, right? Why would I never send my children to school? Because schools are just government facilities used to brainwash the rising generations. And it's come to the surface that school photos are to catalog. Yeah, they really are. And actually, when you think about it, schools are traumatic. They are traumatic to kids. And I could attest that at many of my nightmares, I'm back in school, even though I did enjoy high school, but not the early parts of school. It was too traumatic.
I know our little nervous systems were not prepared for a lot of things that happen in public school. But yeah, those pictures were really weird because there were some years I could not afford the pictures, but I still ended up with a packet. I didn't pay. Yeah, I never paid for a pack. I just couldn't afford it. I am sorry. No, I didn't have $8 sometimes. I didn't have the $8 to get the packet, but I still got a packet. So what's up with that? And they never came after me for it.
No, that always hit me as strange, even as a little kid.
Yeah.
So we don't have to pay for these?
Yeah. I mean, I just as soon, not have my children go have their picture taken, but they take every single child. Isn't that interesting?
I know I mentioned it before, but I just wanted to bring this up again, the arsenic and kids' candy. So, again, the worst of the worst, Jolly Ranchers, sour apple. There was a time when I was a little kid, I used to like those things. Tootsie's Fruit Chew, Lime, Nerds, Skittles, and Sour Patch Kids. All these, the risks are increased cancer and developmental harm in kids. This is arsenic. It's loaded with arsenic. How long have they been this toxic is really the question, because people didn't look in ages past. So, I mean, have they always been this toxic, or has it only been in recent times. The one thing I can attest to is it seems like as time has gone on, they seem to add more things in to the same products.
They do. And, KK was just saying that one of her was it bitter cherry juice? I forgot what it was, KK. I saw you in there. She's saying that they've added more bad things to it and that were not there before. And just today, we thought we were buying a good organic tomato soup. And, upon last inspection, before we eat it, sure enough, we find something really yucky in there. We couldn't eat it.
Yeah, down at the end, they had stuck in canola oil, and I had gotten the brand before, and it didn't have it. And we make all our own stuff. We make our own tortillas, our own pizzas from scratch, the sauce and the bread. We do most of that ourselves. It's a little more work, but at least hey, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 ingredients, right? But this one, then they stuck canola oil in there, so we just poured it down the sink and threw the package away.
Yeah, no, not eating it. But I mean, I have enough problems. I don't need to just deliberately add more.
Yeah, Mexico to replace 16 million tons of GMO corn with native varieties and to ban toxic herbicide glyphosate. Let's hope they ban whatever it is that's coming out now in its place. That again, the diabolically evil, in my opinion, company Monsanto Bayer has been just again what they've done to not just the United States, across the world. I mean, the amount of toxic material that's been spread. Every CEO, the COO, I mean, all the upper management, in my mind, should all be on trial because they've caused a lot of health issues for many, many people. Again, that's just my opinion.
Yet, it's how does that work? They talk about the GMO, non-GMO, and the seeds, and if some of the special seeds end up in an organic farm, they can sue the organic farmer for crossbreeding and make him then buy these special seeds. I mean, it's so not fair. How does that even happen? How?
Because they buy out the judges, they buy out the politicians, they buy out everybody they can buy out, and then they have unlimited profits. And just about every single CONS piracy theory you could think of has been proven true. How about the birth certificate bombshell? Birth certificate equals a slave contract. The CUSIP code scam exposed. Your birth certificate isn't proof of identity, it's a debt instrument. And learn how the U.S. territorial government turned every newborn into a corporate slave using CUSIP bonds, secret trusts, and even fraudulent jurisdiction. Now, this part always hit me as being, well, maybe even a little bit crazy out there for me, even though I do think there's reptilians behind a lot of this. But in reality, every single thing has been proven to be really true. When you get down to it, we're under British maritime law. The USA is USA Inc. It was incorporated. Again, we had the Banking Act of 1871, same year as the Great Chicago Fire. There were so many things that happened in 1871. They were very busy little beavers.
Indeed they are, and I think there's just this set of laws that we are allowed access to, and there's like laws for us and laws for them. There's school for us and school for them.
Yeah, so thank you, Max Meeks. Welcome back again. Mimic the diets of the largest people on Earth, not India, China, exactly. Well, largest in what way? Intelligence or just pure size? Yeah, there's some African tribes that are incredibly tall.
Yes.
And then again, Nordic lineage as well. You have some giants there. These bankers destroyed Tesla. And yeah, they definitely put a kibosh on free energy. Rockefellers, Warburg, Morgan. And, again, you still have Morgan Chase, you still have Rockefellers, and the families are still in place, and none of these people have ever answered for their monopolies. And, again, their corruption, the bribery, the lobbying. Again, lobbying is just plain and simple bribery.
Well, yeah, I mean, they made it very clear they want a nation of just slaves.
Yeah, absolutely. And then here you go. This is Representative Tim Burkett talking about alien bases. Well, let me listen.
These are entities that are here on this earth, that have been on this earth, who knows how long, and that we, we think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did millennia ago, but they're here and they're in these deep water areas, and that's why. I mean, like we say, we know more about the face of the moon than we do what's going on there. Now, we have a higher propensity of sightings around these 5 or 6, I believe, deep water areas. And so to me, it just it creates a question there. And then when we have naval personnel telling me that we have these sightings and that there's these underwater craft they're chasing that are doing hundreds of miles an hour, and the best we've got is something that does maybe just a little under 40 miles an hour. So I got a lot of questions about that stuff, and I mean.
So I think the part where he says they talk about these aliens coming in from deep space, he said, they might have thousands of years ago, but there's groups of them in 5 to 6 underwater locations that have been here for thousands of years, and even again referencing what feels like a pretty legit timeline about there being that total takeover maybe about 6,000 years ago, about 4,000 BC, when you have all the city-states popping up all over Sumeria. But because again, that to me was just the beginning of the control system establishing itself here and starting to wash away everything that went before it, because we know there are other locations in Turkey, for instance, in Pakistan, India, that are older, way older than that of the Sumerian city-states. They just, they want us to think that everything happened when they got here, when they started to take over. They want history to start with their takeover. And, here he is. And again, this is a representative. He says, they've been here thousands of years. They're in at least 5 or 6 underwater locations that he's aware of.
So, he's very nonchalant about it. So it seems like he's pretty well educated and well spoken, and, he knows things.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. So, talk about having your disclosure. You can't get much more than that, besides actually seeing some of them, hopefully, in our time and live and having communication. That would be really an interesting day when that happens. And some are saying 2026 is the year now. A lot of people were talking about next year, 2027, being the year of disclosure. But now, a lot of people are saying it's coming, might be coming as early as summer. Now, new developments in the search for tunnels beneath Cusco. Again, Peru is just one of those areas that's absolutely loaded with wild stuff, and perhaps a lot of Tartarian type things and extraterrestrial, or maybe again we should just say ultra terrestrial, make it easier. Look at inside the church. Go down into the bottom floor. You lift up a tile, and you just keep going. You just keep going down and down into these tunnels and catacombs, and what will you find down there? Again, this is one of those locations. This is to be continued. We'll check into it as they release more. This is underneath Cusco Cathedral. Yeah, there are certain places which are hotspots, entrance areas, into the inner Earth realm. They're in many locations all around the world.
I think that's key. They're all around the world, and in places that we're not allowed to go and we're not allowed to see, and probably even in some very well protected areas. And there's even places in the desert that are protected, and you're just not allowed to go there. It looks like there's nothing there, just a bunch of sagebrush and dirt, but no, they are protected by heavily armed people.
Yeah, so, I guess this is somebody trying to debunk this. Natural limestone embedded in natural granite. In other words, cast. Very interesting. What can be done now with AI too. It's just a tangled mess at this point. Pillars of the Past is another good one. He does have a YouTube channel too. And he's given us some really unique things because he's down there in Peru and in Bolivia doing the research himself, with his own hands and tools. We hope to go down there sometime, and maybe we'll be able to do a live from down there.
I know, it would be a lot of fun. And Rama and Sita, they currently have their feelers out to train somebody to babysit.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the list of ingredients. Think about these things they sell for $5 or whatever it is, $7 in, again, the gas stations. Don't you think that costs them more than it's worth to print these labels and to just make note of all the ingredients? This E49, yeah, it's like a library.
Oh my
book.
gosh. Look at that. Look at all those ingredients in there. If there's more than 3, leave it be. I think that's probably maximum, and you better be able to say every single ingredient. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I can't say that I would eat that. Now, when we were on the road though, going back and forth, we ate as best as we could, but I would have just stayed hungry. I wouldn't eat that.
Yeah, I would just call it a fasting day. When you look at it, this one says that's not food made for people, it's food engineered for profit. Yeah, the profit's not in the selling of the item either. It's the profit comes later on when there's all sorts of medical bills. And this is how, the reality sets in. Did you hear? We had talked about this once or twice before. Reptilian humanoids encountered in Vietnam cave. In the 90s, Ho Khan went to explore the largest cave on Earth, known as Sun Dong Cave. He encountered reptilian humanoids living deep within the Earth. Well, there's also, again, in that same area, same place, right by there was war raging, the Vietnam War, and there was a group of American GIs that heard what they thought was Viet Cong coming through the woods. But what did they see? Kid you not, what they saw were reptilians, a group of reptilians that looked like warriors. Reptilian beings that did have clothes on them, some sort of uniform on them, and they were in kind of like a formation like a platoon would be in. What were they doing? I mean, seriously, this was documented. I'll have to dig up all the info on it again because it's a fascinating one. They watched them go by and go out of sight. I would theorize maybe they were doing like Predator. Maybe they were actually, because it's a wartime scenario. Who would know if reptilians killed some Viet Cong or some U.S. soldiers? Or if it was just, you would automatically think, well, yeah, if it's U.S. soldiers, well, then the Viet Cong got them and vice versa. But maybe they were sport hunting, something like that. Or maybe they were just out hunting for food.
Well, maybe they had the ability to be camouflaged, you just don't know. I mean, I think the reptilians are extremely advanced and, even moving from one dimension to the other. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is like fascinating stuff, guys. I mean, seriously, this is the stuff of nightmares, Yeah, that's the stuff of nightmares. But again, we know from not just the Bible, but all the traditions. You have Hades in the Greek myths. It's right under our feet. Yes, reptilian cities right under our feet. Think of Satan with his little pitchfork. He feels very reptilian. Well, again, that's because there is some truth there. Who destroyed Tartaria? We know that Tartaria was the last trace of the ancient alliance, a civilization that preserved the knowledge of the old world, architecture in tune with the resonance of the earth, energy systems drawn from the ether, and spiritual connection again. Well, here you go. Adam Weishaupt is credited with starting the Illuminati again. Mayor Amschel Rothschild, of course, King George. You see, again, authorities from the church. Yep, there has been a lot of Secret Service activity in basically every country of the world. And they've done an amazing job at getting rid of whatever Tartaria truly was, because we know it isn't what history says.
No, history is just it's something that was written down for their benefit, not our benefit. There's so many missing pieces about the world that we live in. And I know once we are shown and we see it, you can never unsee it, and then we'll be able to tell our children, our grandchildren, the truly magical, wonderful world that we live in. And this place doesn't have to be sterile. It doesn't have to be all technoed up. It just feels like everything is trying to become sterile, but with everything that's upcoming, maybe that's going to fall away.
So here he's talking about the mansions and all these magnificent buildings that we see that don't have any they don't really have any kitchens. They certainly don't have a lot of bathrooms, if there is any. Again, it looks like the fireplaces were not for burning wood, but perhaps something else, perhaps some sort of radiating energy source. Well, what type of people didn't eat? Is that what we're trying to say? Did they not eat? When you look to the Bible, when does the fall happen? It's when Eve went and got the apple, and they both ate of the apple. Now, you could say it was the apple, again, there was the apple of the knowledge of good and evil, and humanity's ignorance was bliss. And, the other one was of eternal life. It's just symbolic. But what about even the act of eating? Do we always have to eat in each age? Or, as we go into the other ages, do we not have to eat as much, or do we maybe not have to eat at all? Is it possible to draw life force from the ether? What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm. It is curious about those Tartarian buildings. This maybe having one bathroom, but what I believe and what I was feeling into was, you go into these buildings and they have a certain type of resonance that helps your body make everything it needs to make out of whatever little food or little liquid that you took in, so that there's not much excrement. There's just not. And I think that's kind of the world that we came from. And I think that's why those Tartarian buildings are so beautiful and they're so special, and they have all of the interesting, intricate designs in there that go along with sound healing.
Yeah, I think, again, when we're talking about a golden age, I would say in the golden age, we don't eat. I think we draw just, from the ether. There are legends in Greece as well as in the Hindu tradition that talk about humans living and being just like the gods. In other words, having all sorts of paranormal super abilities. And, again, that's kind of where we're heading. We are on the ascension swing, although we just, got our feet out of the Dark Age, and the Dark Age system is just collapsing now. This person says that the Tartaria collapsed, the last great reset, and the enslavement protocol. The narrative you've been fed of a minor medieval Tartary that faded into obscurity is a deliberate weaponized lie. The truth is a cataclysm of cosmic scale. Tartaria was not a country, and we do agree that it was much bigger than what they say. It was the final global post-Atlantean civilization. a society that mastered free energy, resonant healing, and nonlinear architecture, as well as its systematic annihilation around the 19th century wasn't an accident. It was a surgical strike by the current control matrix to install the final total prison you now inhabit as modernity. Yes, interesting. The world before the cage. It was a global techno-spiritual empire operating on principles that Zeta would recognize as foundational. Energy, sovereign, geometric consciousness, and biological harmony. Its architecture, the vast star fortress cities, the sprawling crystalline mudflood buildings, which were made of geopolymers. We could see this tuned to specific frequencies. Yeah, we could see that these things were pliable. The bricks were pliable. And they had technology to levitate and also to solidify.
I think they had so much interesting technology. You know, I believe that they could make the stone, like Mike said, make it pliable, but then hit it with a frequency to bring it shape and form. Because when you look at those buildings, I mean, how could you possibly get up there with any kind of tool or anything and make some of those intricate designs that are up there, the points, and you know, some are so straight up tall and they're so pointy at the top, and they have other external points, and they have some beautiful creatures and, you know, pictures of certain people that are on it, and those people have their own facial expression, so you know that is somebody who went up there with a little hammer and a chisel and chiseled that out. That's what I want to know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you had a free energy grid. The land was crisscrossed with ley lines, harnessed by and amplified by Tartarian towers, mislabeled as lighthouses, minarets, and bell towers. These structures were atmospheric energy harvesters, drawing static electricity from the ether. Again, they don't like the ether. They don't like that at all. The elaborate metallic onion domes were not religious symbolism. They were Tesla coils on a monumental scale, broadcasting power. The Great Wall was not a defensive fortification. It was a planetary scale waveguide and tidal energy regulator. Resonant healing and longevity, disease as you experience it, was managed anomaly. Medicine was acoustic and architectural. Hospitals were resonance chambers. Specific frequencies like solfeggio tones were used to restore cellular integrity, all hidden from you. And the mud-flooded first floors of buildings were often subterranean healing bays connected to the energy grid. Lifespans measured in centuries, not decades. And again, it was a slave-free society. The control matrix, a humanity in control of its own power and health, is a humanity that cannot be managed, harvested, or culled. So the perpetrators, the reset consortium, the financial archons, the emerging earthbound bloodline banks, precursors to the current central banking system, saw a world without debt, without scarcity, and thus without control. They could not impose usury on a free energy civilization. So again, you create the religious dogmas and you divide us, and, you know, it just goes on and on. Weaponize the climate and geology. Absolutely. And then again, pandemics, you know, the whole thing. So, yeah, how long has it really been around? Has it only really been around a few hundred years? Did we kind of go through these waves of pushing back against, you know, the reptilian and Anunnaki intrusion into our reality?
Yeah, I know. You know, what's been going on, and whatever it is, it's been going on for a very long time. And there's somebody that knows.
Well, how about 3 meals a day? You know, don't forget, you know, our medical system has been totally structured and, you know, brought together, especially at, you know, again, the college level and post-grad level, really truly by that one Rockefeller family. Absolutely. And, you know, they're also the ones that changed 440 hertz down to, or 432 up to 440 to make it more dissonant, so that became the standardized frequency to tune your instruments to, as opposed to the more harmonious 432 hertz cycle. And then you have this: 3 meals a day is a Rockefeller psyop. Our ancestors ate once a day, sometimes 3 times a week. And you know what? They thrived. They were lean, sharp, and strong because the body is designed to function best in fasting. But we've been programmed. We think skipping breakfast is a crime. You think hunger is an emergency. No, it's power. Fasting activates cells that act like little soldiers. They march straight to the damage, clean it out, and rebuild you stronger. That's real medicine. Yeah, again, we have really been sold a lot of, in my opinion, bunk. And, this popped up in the feed about Buddhist monks, and they were showing this one, this one right here. They eat once a day. This one's 58 years old. Look at that. Where's his protein? He's got probably 10 grams of protein there at best. And that's all he eats. Pretty much, he's eaten this way for most of his life. One meal, and yeah, he's fine. I think, again, and I'm somebody that's studied nutrition. I've spent, decades studying nutrition and health and wellness. I've done a lot of constructing diets and exercise programs and routines for people. That was just something I really enjoyed to do. So I know what we're taught. But what if it's totally, totally wrong? I have heard the idea that we don't actually absorb and soak in nutrients at all. That what happens is the chemical makeup of whatever it is we're putting into the body, what is reflected in the ether, and we're really telling the body to absorb from the ether a similar component. And I just find that very, very interesting. It's really interesting. I mean, I've noticed, because we've cut back to eating 1 meal a day, and we will have a protein shake or a smoothie in the morning, which, maybe like 10 to noon, we'll have that, and then we'll have our meal at like around 3, 4. So we are kind of eating in a 6-hour window. And my weight hasn't really changed. I mean, it hasn't gone down. It's just very, very stable, even with not taking in the same amount of calories as I used to. And I work out a lot every day.
Yeah, it's like the body knows how to adjust, and the body just knows. So you have to trust it and listen to your body, because sometimes other people might not be able to do this. They might be made up completely different, and that's where I really truly believe. If you are drawn to something like being a Buddhist monk, I think you could very well be a different actual species of being. It's just in your DNA. You're drawn to it. You're pulled to it. And maybe those that are pulled in the strongest way, they already have that makeup to be able to do that.
Sorry for that. It wouldn't let me turn off the thing. This I've seen him before, and again, he's a vegan and he only eats 1 meal a day. Now, again, if your body has been used, if you're in your 50s, 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you've been used to certain foods, to all of a sudden try to do something like this might make you sick as you could be. Just like getting off of all the junk food, it takes time. You have to do things slowly. But I do think that what's possible is well beyond what most people think. I've shown this. This is Prahlad Jani. And, he is somebody that said he didn't eat and drink since a visitation by the goddess that came to him and blessed him. And so he's gone like his entire life without food or water. And last time I looked, he was, I think, 88 or 90. He was actually monitored twice by doctors and scientists for a 3-week period. And he didn't eat or drink anything. And his body functions were fine. They said it seemed as if he was absorbing the water from the air itself, I think they were more shocked by the fact that he didn't drink any water. And, again, we can absorb through our skin. We do, right? I mean, we know, like what you put on your skin, like sun lotion and stuff, that goes into your bloodstream. It goes into your bloodstream. Now, he did take baths, and so he would bathe. So was he drawing in the water in his bath? My answer would be, yeah, I think so. And I don't think that, again, it depends on the shape of your body and how, the quality of the food that you put into it. But, here's one example where he was monitored for 3-week periods of time. And, the scientists were amazed. 3 weeks without food, okay, people can and have done those type of fasts. But 3 weeks without water, you're supposed to be dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely takes a certain type of being to do that, because it's not for the normal person to be set up that way. And I do think, what you do when you're very, very young, I think that stays with you in a way. And that's just how your body knows how to rebuild. And if you go too far off that script, it can run into problems, possibly.
And, this is an amazing person, Li Qing Yuan. He was a Chinese Taoist master. He was a Qigong master. He was a military advisor and an herbalist. He was born in 1677 and died 256 years later, May 6, 1933. In his lifetime, he is said to have 24 wives and 183 children. I do have his biography, and I've read it, and it is like 300 pages or so, so it's pretty substantial. He ate mostly ginseng, goji berries, and different herbs for the most part. Sometimes when somebody would invite him in, he would have eggs. He would even have chicken. But he went long periods of time without eating anything. I mean, days and weeks. And he was always walking every day. He walked all over the place. He was actually a very large man. Actually, some thought he was perhaps of giant stock.
Yeah, he's a very unusual character. He had a very strong energy when I kind of felt into him. He was very, very interesting. It's just what.
And just to say that she was, because I had a million questions for him. And in case you're listening to us for the first time, Cindy is like a very gifted psychic, and she can connect usually to people on the other side. So she was able to connect with him.
Yeah, I was able to make a connection with him, and his energy was very strong. It's still very strong. So it's like when he does come back, he's going to bring all this knowledge back again. So with him, I keep seeing him reborn into a body that remembers everything. And that's just kind of his continuum, is how he operates on the 3D. He brings in so much information with him, and he's has a very special energy. It's a very strong energy. It's a very protective energy, and like a sacred, like a holy person, I would say.
And so Cindy, I was, as she had the connection, I'm asking her to ask him all these questions. And thank you so much, Bob Hawk. I'm glad you enjoyed the subjects. We try to bring a diversity because, again, a lot of people want to come in and catch up with what's happening in the world. But then it's so good to know these things that maybe you're not, normally exposed to. So we asked him, what was your number one practice? Why did you live so long? And the answer was Zhangzhuang, which is part of Qigong. And it involves standing like a tree or pose standing and gathering the life force. This is the strongest, most powerful form of Qigong for longevity and health overall.
Mm-hmm. Very, very important.
So, I just wanted to share that with you guys. This is one of our regular practices. We do this pretty much every single day. And you gather the Qi. It's a matter of focus and intention. And in time, you'll be amazed at what you'll be able to do. Maybe not live 256 years, but maybe that'll be nothing because we're in a new age. We are in a new era. Then we have Ananda Mayi Ma. Now, she is also known to go long periods of time She's kind of like a modern day saint. She was born April 30th, 1896, and died in 1982. Amazing being. She is one of our primary guides. So she is one of our main guides on the other side that we do connect with on a regular basis. And she would go days, weeks, and months without eating at times. And, this is just part of the yogic tradition.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything new. I think it was brought from an earlier, much better age.
Yeah, and again, go slowly with all these things. If you're curious about fasting, I would try at first intermittent. Try to just eat in an 8-hour window and take 16 hours off, which is easy if you time it with going to bed. And you could go from there as you're guided. And again, with each person having different conditions, unfortunately, our modern day diet leads to all sorts of problems: diabetes, obesity, et cetera. So it could take time to correct and bring balance back to the body, because it is all about balance. Another practice that she did was bhakti yoga, which involved the use of mantras. Vedic mantras are super powerful. They will open up your chakras. They will activate your pineal gland, because the sounds that come from the Vedic mantras, they're actually structured so they open up the chakras in a sequential manner.
And that's just so many things have been hidden from us about how our body works and what we can do with it. And Robbie, so cute, he's talking about, even hugging the tree, hugging the invisible tree has health benefits. Yes, the tree. That one's really good because it really builds circulation. And if you're unable to get up and do a lot of walking, that will boost your circulation and strengthen the heart.
Yes, and in case you're new to the concept of Qigong, we do have a playlist all about Qigong on actually I think two of the 3 channels, EEARTS and Evolutionary, and everything pretty much is on Patreon. Water should always be moving, and this guy built a water system using copper, a copper pyramid, and vortex. The result: more structured, oxygen-rich, energized water. That was the other thing that came through from this master. This was water is very important. So he was more concerned with the water intake from, clear streams, which again, nobody drinks straight out of a stream these days. Not in our area anyway.
No, definitely not.
But it was a different reality back then. And here you go. Science confirms your cells hear you talk to yourself. They hear you. So if you're saying things like "I'm a mess," or running over in your head that you feel like crap, or that any sort of negative thoughts, your cells are hearing you. So recognize that each one of us is a universe unto ourselves. You have billions, if not trillions, of different entities making you up. Literally, that make up your body, and also your energy fields. So in such a case, when you're talking negatively to yourself or accepting negative thought patterns, then it's going to be kind of like black magic. So we have to be very, very mindful, and the guides also came through with that, saying it's very important now because we are in another yuga, and you're going to be able to manifest much quicker in this yuga. The very ether is changing. So we have to really guard our thoughts.
Our thoughts are so important, because it creates a certain vibration, which then goes into our blood, and our blood picks up that vibration, goes throughout our whole body, which then also goes out to the universe. So it's a constant conversation you're having with yourself. And, it might be okay to say, "Oh, I'm so dumb," just joking around, but really it's not okay. And we're learning more and more and more that what that energy field around you is doing, it's taking orders. So if you say, "Oh my gosh, that was so stupid of me," guess what? They're going to take orders, and then you will do what you said. So you'll do something subconsciously, and you won't even realize it, but you were just, kind of like nudging yourself, picking on yourself, because we all do. But no, that silent energy field is always listening. Very important to be kind to your mind.
Yes. And KK says, so true, Mike, so true. If I had not learned that from you guys, I would be dead. Facts. Again, our KK has gone through so much. She has gone through a lot of torture, honestly. And what she's suffered through, I think would have been the end for a lot of people, but she's made it through. And, she's getting stronger every day and really accelerating. And so, it's a matter of turning the tide and developing healthy practices and understanding, that again, it's never too late. She's, in her 60s as well. I am too. And, we can still have our best years ahead of us. We really can. Even in your 60s or even beyond. We have one beautiful student, so to speak, that's 86. And she is amazing and getting better every day.
Indeed, for sure. And I mean, when you get older, you have all that wisdom to work with, and you realize that you don't have to continue to walk down those other painful roads, that you can do differently. So, I mean, age is a beautiful thing.
Look at that. I mean, look at the size of that bear. I've never thought about, what a bear looks like before it gives birth. Holy cow.
I don't know. I've never seen it, but this is a big mama.
That is a wide load. Absolutely. And will he be okay? Of course he's going to be okay. We're going to be okay too. So even though this is the end of the world as we knew it, I feel fine because we know we're going into a better reality. We just have to get through the bumpy part where the old reality collapses in front of our eyes.
I know. So are we over? We're about done. So just a couple of things before we go into dings. I just wanted to mention that we do have affiliates. We have a couple affiliates. One is fairly new, but one of our links is to Promo Life, and there are ozone people. And if it were not for that ozone, I swear I wouldn't be here today. So they have a lot to offer. If you want to just go on their site and see what they have, Mike will have the links up there. And we also have LifeWave. We'll have the link up there too. And it's this amazing patch that I've been working with, and I love it. And I just want to share it with you guys. So those links will be in there somewhere. So
that has to do with drawing the light.
It draws your own light. I mean, it's your own light. It's just so incredible. I mean, I'm just thoroughly impressed with it, and I have to share it with all of you. So please check those out. And the customer service is great on both of them.
I still have to put the link for that in though.
He's going to do that tonight, I think. So I hope. But anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys because it's been a blessing in my life, both places, both Promo Life and LifeWave. So just want to share it around. And
to make an appointment with us, sweetie.
To make an appointment with us, you can go to evolutionaryenergyarts.com, and you learn all kinds of fun stuff about us. You read experiences other people have had and all the things. We do Vedic astrology, we do energy work, we do all the things, and you name it, we probably do it. We've worked on thousands of people, and we love doing so. We love helping people. We love helping people get on their path, meeting your guides and your angels, maybe even making contact with past loved ones, depending on, what the loved one wants, because we honor their presence. So we just wanted to share that with you guys. And was there anything else, honey? Okay. Mm-hmm. So we want to say a huge thank you to KK, Politic, Max Meeks, and Bob Hawk for sponsoring the video today. It was extremely helpful. And we're going to set some intentions out there that things get better for us, that we get the upper hand when it comes to creating the world that we want to see. So we definitely, be the world you want to see and be kind to your mind. Those are our intentions tonight. Hold tight. Here we go. You guys are amazing. You're wonderful. Thank you so much for your thumbs up, your support, for coming in to spending time with the community. Source bless and namaste.
Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my thoughts, words, actions, and deeds contribute to that happiness and freedom. Thank you guys so much. We couldn't do it without you guys.